Hi everyone, my name is Suzanne and I'm a Chinese metaphysics master in Hong Kong. I do get a lot of questions about internal water features in Feng Shui and what it means, what effects it has. And therefore I decided to dedicate a small video to this particular topic, especially those features that you want to avoid. Yeah, so I've put a few slides together and I hope this will give some clarity as to what you need to look out for if you purchase a new property or if you're renting a new place or thinking about installing a big water feature somewhere in your house. Now, the first one looks like this, and I know this looks like this is an external water feature, but as you can see, the pool actually goes all the way into the house. You don't see this very often, but it does happen. Um, and this is obviously done so that you can have a nice access from the inside to the house, from the inside of the house to the pool itself, and then swim in and out. Yeah. So usually this is not something that you want to put into place because it can really disturb the qi flow in your house, especially if for some reason you have designed the house in such a way that the pool actually cuts all the way into the center of the house. This is not anything that will bring you good luck or more wealth. Yeah, the center should be quiet. But even in a case like this, where the pool enters the house or penetrates the house through a side wing or just somewhere on the side, even then you need to be very careful. You need to actually check the directionality. Yeah, which sector is affected by this much water? So for example, if it is the northwest, for those of you who know a little bit about Feng Shui, the Northwest is associated with Qian, the Qian trigram. And the Qian trigram or the Qian, among many other things, is associated with the head and the brain. Now, in the most benign cases, having water or having too much water here could mean that you suffer from migraines or headaches a little bit more often. But depending on how the rest of the house is being laid out and what exactly is going on in the northwest sector, this could lead all the way up to brain tumors. And so therefore you want to be really careful where you have water entering your house. If the water enters through the South Palace, you are in effect creating internal fire water clash, because the South Palace Ligua is associated with fire. So if you have a pool coming in from the south, you create this fire water clash, which is very unsentimental in feng shui terms. And since the south is associated with the heart and the eyes, obviously these organs will be affected. So really be careful with that. I would suggest that you do not put something like this into place or plan anything like this unless you actually do this together with a feng shui master, in which case you can remedy issues before they manifest. Yeah. But for those of you who are just on the market of buying a property or renting and you see something like this, even though it's beautiful, yeah, and I like it as well, but from a feng shui perspective, this is highly detrimental. Now here you see a big water feature in the center of the house. And again, I would advise not to purchase or rent a property like this for long term. If it's just a holiday home, never mind, yeah, don't worry. But you never want to have a water feature, especially this size, in the center of your home. The center of your home is considered the heart of the home, and it needs to be yin. It needs to be quiet. It needs to be calm. You don't want to agitate the center of your home, the heart of your home. And water is an extremely yang energy. The moment you bring that into the center, it creates way too much energy, way too much active yang flow. And so this results usually in bad health for the occupants over time. So best to avoid this feature. Now, this one here, sometimes you see a pool above a particular room or a main door or just an elevated pool within the house itself. Now, usually this is not something you need to worry about. However, if the pool is directly above the main door, then this is unfavorable. This is considered unfavorable, and it can create massive money and wealth loss. So make sure that you do not have a pool constructed or designed in such a way that it is directly above the main door or even the side door, especially if the side door has very favorable flying stars. They will essentially be destroyed by this kind of feature. So I would say if you build something like this and the pool is above an area of the house that is maybe utility or living room, dining room, you should be fine. I would avoid it above the kitchen as well, but it's not quite as detrimental as above the main door. Main door, main entrance, avoid it. It leads to bankruptcy and sudden severe financial losses. Then you've got waterfalls within the house. Yeah, obviously it's not a real waterfall, but you see some waterfall features sometimes in a house. Sometimes you also see what we call them weeping walls. Yeah, so just a wall where the water is trickling down. Those weeping walls are generally fine. I don't really see a big issue with those. However, the noise of the water is what is of concern here. So if you can barely discern the water, as in a weeping wall, then it's not an issue. If the waterfall makes a significant noise and is really constant, not just a few hours a day, but it's a constant sort of noise, then we call this a noise sha qi. And noise shati is also detrimental to people's health. And you also need to take into account where this waterfall is located in your house. Again, you check which sector. Yeah, is it Ligua, Kangua, Qiangua, or so on? It has different effects depending on the sector it is in. Now, usually these features do not have a lot of depth. So as you can see here, the water at the bottom of the so-called waterfall is very, very shallow. The shallower, the better. Yeah, because in order for a water feature to really exert its effect, we require certain depth. This is why, among other things, weeping walls are quite okay from a feng shui perspective, because there's no noise and there's generally not a lot of depth to it at the bottom where the water collects. So weeping walls are fine, but what you see here on the screen, I would probably avoid, because that looks like it does make quite a bit of noise. Now, sometimes you also see water features directly below a staircase, and this is often done for aesthetic reasons, to put something below a staircase, because very often you can't really put anything else there and it looks a little bit odd. But again, this is not something you should be doing. If you are looking at a property that has this kind of feature, I would say avoid it. Yeah, do not rent it, do not purchase it, or if you purchase it, then just don't use this water feature, remove the water and you'll be fine. This is especially true if the staircase itself is either in the center of the property or relatively close to the center. I think in one of my previous videos where I was talking specifically about staircases in Feng Shui and what to avoid, I was talking about not having staircases in the center, like smack bam in the center of your property, because again, this creates disquiet within the center where you should actually have quiet and stillness. Yeah, the heart of the home should be quiet. Now, if you have both a water feature and a staircase, you amplify the negative effect, and this is quite undesirable. If it's far off the center and somewhere in the corner of your home, then again, you just need to check what the sector is where this water feature is located. Any big water feature, I really recommend you to only place with the recommendation of a feng shui consultant. because water is an extremely active energy. It does trigger something, whether you want it or not. And of course, you want the good things to be triggered rather than the negative energies. So please do not install a water feature this size anywhere in your home just willy-nilly, especially if you do follow Feng Shui. Then better to ask someone to make sure that it is the right location. Now, obviously, aquariums are always a big issue. Um, Small aquariums are not something you need to worry about. You can place them really anywhere. But if you're using aquariums specifically for the purpose of Feng Shui, you want to make sure that the aquarium is placed in a location where it is positive from a long-term perspective. Because obviously we have monthly influences, we've got annual influences. You do not want to have a massive aquarium and then have to shift it on an annual basis. That makes no sense. So placing an aquarium, especially the size that you see here on the screen, into your home, again, please only do this with the advice of a Feng Shui consultant. Otherwise, you may stand the risk of really triggering something negative. However, if it's just a very small feature and maybe it's just a fishbowl, then you can really put that anywhere. A fishbowl will not make a big impact or will not have a big effect on anything. Yeah. And then finally, this one I'm asked about all the time. Yeah, what kind of fish should I get for an aquarium? What color fish? How many fish do you have to have in an aquarium? And really, the answer is very simple. You don't actually need any fish in the aquarium. It's just that an aquarium without fish looks rather silly. So it's much nicer if you put something in there that actually swims around and looks pretty. The fish are placed into the aquarium for the sole purpose of keeping the water moving. Now, whether you have a koi fish doing that or a trout, doesn't matter. They will both keep the water moving. A koi fish is not a lucky fish. It just looks prettier than a trout. Yeah, so that's really all there is to it. If you are not big into fish, and me personally, I'm not, so I'm not an aquarium person, am not really into fish, you don't have to have fish. You can just have a water pump that keeps the water moving. Now, obviously, this does look silly. If you have a massive fish tank or a massive aquarium, there's not a single fish there, and it's just a water pump keeping it moving. That's why we do place fish, but it's really the only reason. And therefore the number also doesn't matter. So it doesn't have to be a lucky number. It doesn't have to be a number that resonates with you from a Bazi perspective. It doesn't have to be a number that's the same number as the rooms in your home or your house square. That's really absolutely irrelevant. If you'd like to have fish, then go and buy whichever fish you want, whichever fish you like, and in any amount you want. Yeah, so it doesn't matter whatsoever. So these are the most important features here in terms of internal water. Now, obviously, there's much more to it, but that would require a lot more explanation because you do need some calculation and you do need some help with actually determining what you want this water feature to do. Do you want this water feature to help you with a relationship or with wealth? Those require different types of water features, and then they need to be placed in particular areas that resonate with you personally from a Bazi perspective, but also Feng Shui perspective. So all of those calculations really need to be done with a Feng Shui consultant or a metaphysics consultant together in order to really know what needs to be done. But if you're simply in the market for buying or renting a property and you see any of the features that I just discussed, then just be a little bit careful. Worst case, you just remove the water from that water feature. So any internal sort of fountain, you can simply just drain the water, and then it's not going to have an impact anymore. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions, please contact me. My contact details are in the notes below.